This quilt block is called the Easy Quilt. And I don't know why it was named that, because it's not the easiest block I've ever seen, but it's not really difficult. Today I'm going to show you how to make it. Welcome to Epida Studio. My name is Elizabeth and I help you make beautiful things with quilting, pajagi, and embroidery. So this little quilt block is called the Easy Quilt Block. And it's not easy like E-A-S-Y, it's easy like the two letters. And so every Canadian bone in my body wants to call it the EZ Quilt Block. But I think that would be just a bit too confusing. But regardless of what you call it, this is a fun and beautiful little quilt block. Now you might notice this looks pretty close to the Greek cross quilt block, and it is almost exactly the same. It's just that this one is made with 3 different fabrics and this one is made with only 2 fabrics. And so it's a good example of what happens to traditional quilt blocks if you just mix up the color, mix up the layout, add some more colors. It does change the whole look of the block. And so this one is going to be made in the same way, but with different color combinations. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make a 5-inch version of this block. It uses 3 different fabrics. This background fabric, where I'm using just a solid white, the dark fabric, where I'm using this bright green fabric, and then another contrasting color where I have this red pattern fabric. So let's get started. To make this block, you are going to need 12 1.5-inch squares of your main dark fabric. You're going to need 12 1.5-inch squares of background fabric. And then from our contrasting fabric, you're going to need 2 pieces that are 1.5 inches by 2.5 inches and 1 piece that's 1.5 inches by 5.5 inches. So to start off, we're going to take 8 of our little squares and 8 of our dark color and 8 of our background color. And we're going to use those to make half square triangles using the easiest ever method. So that's the method. I put them together, stitch on the diagonal, cut off the excess, and then press it open so I get a half square triangle just like this. And so often I don't use this technique because the corner that you cut off of the triangle is going to be waste. But in this situation, I do use this technique because it's quite small, and so that means it's more difficult to stitch an exact 1/4 inch seam allowance, and the waste is pretty insignificant. And so because it's small, I go the easy route in that. So if you want to see a full detailed tutorial for how to do the half square triangles this way, you can check that. But we're going to use 8 of our dark squares, 8 of our light squares, and we're going to make 8 half square triangle pieces. So once these half square triangles are done, we're going to use these to put together the corner units for our block. So for each corner unit, you're going to need 2 half square triangles. You're going to need 1 of the light color squares and 1 of the dark color squares. And these go together just in little pieces that go like this. So we put our solid squares on opposite corners, and then half square triangles go pointing toward each other. So it's making this little arrow shape. And so we're going to join those just the way we normally join pieces. We'll join those into pairs and then press the seams towards the solid square, and then we will join the pairs together to get little squares. This is what the little piece is going to look like, and this should be 2.5 inches square. And of course you're going to need 4 of those because there's 1 for each corner of the block. And then once those are made, we're going to make 2 strips for the top and the bottom of the block. And so those strips are made with our contrasting 2.5-inch strip of fabric in the middle, and then these arrow pieces going on either side with the arrow pointing in toward the middle of the block. So you just join those together with 1/4 inch seams, and you're going to need 2, 1 for the top and 1 for the bottom. So once these 2 sections are made, we can put them together with the last 5.5-inch strip right in the middle, and that is what our block is going to look like. So these sections should be 5.5 inches long if everything worked out nicely. And so now we're going to just join those together. So there's the finished block, and it turned out so cute. In the green and red fabrics, it looks kind of like a bow or maybe reminiscent of a poinsettia, but it's really nice with the Christmas colors, but it would look good in any colors. So this block finishes at 5 inches in your quilt, so that means right now it's 5.5 inches. So if you want to see more 5-inch quilt block tutorials, I do have a whole playlist, so you can have fun going through those. It's a great way to use up scraps and doing some fun little projects. And for more quilting tutorials, patterns, and inspiration, check out my website, epidastudio.com.